Hey guys, Jim Smith, Coldwell Banker Residential Brokerage in Huntington Beach, and today back talking about buyers and sellers and what comes with the property when you buy it, and what you're required to leave when you sell a property. So, in working with sellers and buyers alike, one of the common questions between the two is, sellers always want to know, what do I have to leave? Like, what is required of me to leave in the property for the buyers? And then buyers always want to know what comes with the property. And so I'm going to touch on that real quick and hopefully clarify that for you and then give you a little insight on the question. So, with regards to buyers, what comes with the property? So normally speaking, any item when you see the property that is a fixed item, so it's fixed to a wall and secured to the wall, is required to stay with the sale of the property. So items, for example, would be like chandeliers, lighting fixtures, anything that's fixed to a wall. So a TV, for example, is actually on a mount. The mount is fixed to a wall. So the TV normally goes with the seller, whereas the mount, it's somewhat a gray area, but a lot of times, sellers take the mounts, but a lot of times they leave them as well. It is a fixed item. It's actually required as part of the property to stay with the property. Now, more importantly, items like refrigerators, washer and dryers, stoves, dishwashers, those items, that's what most buyers are talking about when they say, what's included in the sale of the property. Well, traditionally speaking, refrigerator and washer and dryer are the seller's property. So the sellers generally take those when they sell a property, or at least they have the option to do so. And on the other hand, buyers, if those are items that you want as part of the purchase of a property, there's an area in the purchase agreement where your agent can check those items off to be included as part of the sale of the property. Now, keep in mind, all of that stuff is negotiable. So, right, it is not required by the sellers to leave it, but it needs to be in the contract and agreed upon to be part of the sale of the property. And so that's why you want to make sure you include them. Now, items like dishwashers always stay. It's a fixed item. It's under the counter. A lot of times they're built in. Those items stay with the property. Now, stoves traditionally always went with the sale of the property. Now they're actually included as part of the residential purchase agreement. There's a box to be checked if you want to include the stove. I tell sellers when they're selling a house is, look, the stove stays. It's a fixed item. In some cases they're built in, so they have to stay. But there's a box now as a buyer. If you want the stove to stay, you check the box. So, if you're buying a property and you're saying you want the stove, the refrigerator, the washer and dryer, those items to stay, you want to make sure that you're checking those so that you make them part of the contract. And that way, if they're not countered out or negotiated out, then you know that they're included as part of the sale. Now, on the other hand, things like drapes, curtains, that sort of thing, in theory, they're supposed to stay. They're actually a fixed item on the property, and they should be included with the sale of the property. A lot of sellers don't know that and take them when they leave. So you need to make sure that you're very clear as a seller when you're talking to your listing agent, and any items that you plan on taking with you when you sell the property, so that they can be excluded in the multiple listing service and in the purchase agreement, so that the buyers know what they're getting when they purchase a property. It's okay to take chandeliers, that sort of thing, as long as you're upfront and clear about it when you're negotiating the contract initially and the buyer is on the same page. So, you can't just leave nothing there. You do have to replace it with a like item. But that is something that, you can negotiate out if a lot of times certain things mean something to people when there might be an item that has some importance to them in the property and they want to take it with them when they leave. As long as you negotiate that at the start of the contract and it's agreed upon and it's binding, then you're good to go. It's just in the case where you agree to something and then you remove it that you have problems, or you don't mention it at all and you end up taking a fixed item that was in theory supposed to be included with the property. That's when problems arise. So at the end of the day, it's all about being clear in the contract what's included and what's not, and that way you don't have these issues later down the road. Now, keep in mind, this is a little bit differently, but as a buyer, you can really request anything to be included as part of the property. Furniture, anything you want in the property. The dog, you want the dog, include the dog. I mean, you can negotiate these items, right? But what you have to take into account is an appraiser can't really give those items value with regards to the sale of the property. So hypothetically speaking, say there's a property that's valued at $600,000, so that's actually what it's worth, and there's a bunch of furniture and stuff you want in the property, and you want them to include it. Well, you can have them include it and part of the sale and change the price to reflect whatever that value is, but you have to be very clear that you can't mention that stuff in the contract, because the lender is not going to allow you to finance those items as part of the sale of the contract. So there are ways around it and loopholes, but at the end of the day, the property does have to appraise in order to include those items that I was talking about. So if you do have additional questions about this subject, feel free to reach out to me directly. Comment below. I'm happy to address any questions on that subject. And again, I hope that was helpful. If you found it helpful, please like the video, subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate it. And as always, I do appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we'll talk again soon. Have a great day.